beautiful phrase that says, all children are all ours. And I do believe wholeheartedly that should be our guiding principle. Yes. Learning to hold your own friends accountable. That is a hard thing to do. Life is not a linear trajectory. It goes in circles, it goes down, it goes in many directions. I think that's the thing as a father, I'm learning more of that. Validating our emotions. Emotions are okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Every Day is a Yay! Y'all, today is a very, very special episode. We are joined by a leader who has committed his career to social justice, okay? As alderman of the 25th Ward, he is here to champion for immigrant rights, equitable education, affordable housing, and so much more. He shows us that we should use our voice for change. So please give it up to the iconic, the inspiring Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez. Woo!
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's an honor for you to be here. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much, and you inspire us to really use our voices. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, a little bit about myself.
Yes.
So, I'm a former teacher, and let's say I work in Chicago public schools for over 10 years. So I got a lot of the desire to be in public service from that struggle. Yeah. I also have triplets. I got triplets. They're a little bit 2 years old, a little over 2 years old. So I got twin girls and a boy. So my wife and I both are dedicated to social justice. We both met doing housing organizing, but it's really in the schools that we're really seeing the need for children to thrive, to children to have everything that they possibly need, so that they can develop their full potential. And I think that's what I was a soccer coach at the time when I got a little bit more politicized, let's say. Yes. So was doing the school closures that I was a volunteer soccer coach at the time in Pilsen Academy. That's one of the schools that was in the list to shut down.
Shout out to Pilsen.
Shout out to Pilsen Academy. Yeah, the pandas. That's the nickname. Okay. So the little pandas, and then I was in the LSC local school council at Youngman Elementary. Yeah. So we really that's really what had me really motivated to be in public service. Yes. I think that I felt that there was not enough public servants that are here to serve the public, to serve the community at large, and especially the most vulnerable. Exactly. So that's again, with my wife, we also been working on housing organizing for some time, doing referendums, to empower people, to make sure that the voice of the people is always represented. So we did a referendum back in 2016 or 16 to lift the ban on rent control. So that's one where my wife and I kind of work together. Yeah. And we brought communities that historically have been disenfranchised or marginalized, and worse when we're pitched against each other. So we're glad to see Pilsen Academy, Youngman Elementary, and Smith Elementary are all open. And there was a coalition made between leaders and community members from Abla Homes, Barbara Jean Wright, which is a strong enclave of the Black community in the 25th Ward. Wow. Chinatown and Pilsen. So we kind of came together.
I love the unity.
Yeah, the unity between people, the working people. I mean, in Chicago, sometimes we hear a lot about it's oftentimes that we are a segregated city. Yeah. But you also, at the same time, you hear about the city of broad shoulders. Exactly. Right? And they both.
I love that, of broad shoulders, yeah.
And I think that they both coexist, right? It is real that segregation, especially now, continues to be pushed. Yeah. And, hate and that narrative is out there. It has been out there. But they also see, the beauty of people when we see injustices, when they see your neighbors struggling, people do come together. Yes. And that's what I've seen, the City of Broad Shoulders, inspiring, people like myself and others to take action. Yes. We've fought to keep the schools open. Those 3 schools not only are open, but they're doing well. Youngman Elementary just received an award this year for being one of the best STEM schools in the state.
Wow.
So it went from being almost shut down to being
one of the best. Talk about comeback.
Exactly. And this is the story of, like, I think communities, like the comeback of communities.
Yes.
Barbara Jean Wright, a community that was almost being displaced, developers were eyeing. We were concerned about that affordable housing was being lost.
Yeah.
People come together, and not only they kept the units, 352 units affordable, they now have a community center.
Wow.
So when I see the comebacks, Chinatown is the only Chinatown in the country that is growing.
Wow.
So the comeback of our communities is a real thing. People in Chicago are talented. The hardest working people.
They are.
People work hard, and sometimes it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
So that's when we fought for the schools. It was an inspiration that they were closing list. Unfortunately, 50 schools did close, and that's what we see the pain today of many kids out there. A lot of the carjackings, all of that. These are minors. They're kids.
Yeah.
And when the others offer, more police budgets, when others offer, more segregation, more hate.
It's like we should really put it into investing in the next generation.
Absolutely. We said, no, we organize so that we have what Chairman Fairhampton talked about, revolutionary love.
Yeah.
And
revolutionary love. I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is our communities are, again, and across the city, but in the 25th ward, we saw the beauty of people coming together to save our schools, to have neighborhoods to thrive.
Yes.
That the investment works, but it is so difficult to get, right? When we see, like I said, bloated police budgets going up, and more of that. When we see the need for mental health, the need for schools, after-school programming, and then we see that people continue to fight. We are going to reopen a mental health clinic in Pilsen on October 28th. We are going to open an art center in Little Village on 24th and Whipple. And I think, unfortunately, those things sometimes take time for people to see.
Yeah.
But I think people have seen that working together. And we need everybody. We can put, there's a lot of trauma, generational trauma. Centuries of colonization.
Exactly.
All of it. I mean,
there's
you see
a lot,
right now.
but that's why it's important to have unity. And I love that you are championing this. So before we fully dive in, I'm so excited for this conversation. We do have a very special segment. Drum roll, please. We have the Goblet of Smiles. All right, so in this question, you're going to pick a question, any question, and the goal is to bring a smile to you and a smile to our audience.
All right.
Come on, Alderman, you got this.
All right. And then I read it out loud?
Yes. Read it out loud.
All right. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which one would you keep? That's a good one. Which apps would I keep?
Oh, that's so hard.
That's a hard one. But which one do I keep? Well, I love to listen to music.
Yes.
So I will definitely have to keep a music app.
I'm
somehow.
with you. I need that music. Spotify got my money.
Yes. So definitely have to keep up one of those. I will definitely need, I take photos of my kids and my family all the time. So I'll need to have something for the kids. And let's see. And, I do have family in Tennessee. I have family in abroad, so I will have to have a WhatsApp or something to be able to connect.
Yes,
those are the 3 that.
You know what's funny? We're right here because same thing. I have family in Nigeria, so I need WhatsApp. Okay. And same thing, I need my photos and videos because content. And then, music. Wow. It's hard. So I'm like, emails. But I'm like, they can just write me and send a bird.
That's right.
Yes. All right. Give it up for the Goblet of Smiles.
All right.
All right. So today we are talking about community change and courage. Leading from the heart. And this is all with the iconic Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez, a.k.a. Byron. Okay. So you were talking a lot about the importance of unity and also ensuring that we're investing in the right things in our community, especially the next generation. What are the hardest truths you've had to face as being a leader in Chicago politics?
Well, one of the hardest truths is to come to the reckon that there are things systemically that continue to be in place. So we may have a mayor who wants to represent the people, but the city has been run by very entrenched interests for so long that change won't come overnight, and that things take time, and that we need to bring people in with us so that there can be more and more of us in government, in community organizations, everywhere, especially the next generation.
Yes.
I think that is being we all would like things to happen sooner than what we see right now. When everything was going on in the world, we have a genocide that is being played out on live TV. We have
literally
locally here in our communities, we see still disinvestment, climate boiling, that is, displacing people not only from the other side of the border, but even in our own country. We see what's going on in Florida with a Hurricane Milton that was a devastating hurricane.
Terrible.
We see, and we see Katrina. We see all of it coming in. So when you see all these many challenges, we can only think about working as a unity. We must come together to address the many challenges. So when we talk about unity, it is hard when we want to reconcile corporate greed with working people.
Yeah. How do you try to do that? Because I know you're very vocal, and sometimes you ruffle feathers because of how vocal you are. Stay vocal.
Yes.
Like, how do you navigate towards that? Because there's folks in office that are focusing on corporate greed. Like, how do you kind of make sure you're that guiding light to make sure we are focusing on the right things?
Yeah, I think what is important is to show the truth to power, right? And I think that for every truth, the system may want to make up 1,000 lies. Yeah. But even then, it will struggle because it's just simply not true.
Yes.
So the fact is just resisting to the pressures, resisting the deception, right? When like the media still haven't covered up the genocide that is playing out. I mean, if you talk about it, right?
They barely cover it.
They barely cover it.
TikTok is what informs me.
Exactly.
That's how you know.
That's right. And then we're almost over a year in a genocide, but yet you don't hear what's really going on.
All.
You see more slaughter of innocent young people, children, right? Innocent people in general. And at the same time in our country, we see the deception of pitching all the blame into the migrants, pitching all the blame, all the violence, criminalizing and pathologizing communities, right? So when you see all that divide and conquer, right, I think it's important to put things into perspective, right? So when we see like developers, just like I mentioned, always an example when talk about fiscal responsibility, right? That's when you talk about the terms, right, that I like to be thrown out there. Fiscal responsibility means that we're spending too much in something, right?
Yes.
We never can spend enough in young people.
Never.
We can never spend
There's no limit to it because it's an amazing investment.
Right. Ask any parent, right?
Yes.
What would not do for the child? And that's what you see. James Baldwin had this beautiful phrase that says, "All children are all ours." And I do believe wholeheartedly that should be our guiding principle, right? As a father or as a parent, who would not want their best for their children?
Exactly.
But can we truly tell? And that's what we like to, put in contrast to these billionaires and head of corporation CEOs.
A lot of them don't care.
They're
It's
just
so irritating.
Exactly. So because they don't see the humanity in other children, right? And at the end of the day, when we see that all of our children are all deserving of investment.
Yes.
Then you see that we must care about the children in Gaza just as much as we care about the kids on the south side, the west side of the city, or the north side of the city, or wherever the state is, right? So
they're all of our children.
They're all ours, and I think that is a guiding principle. And when we see the fear mongering, or to say, "Oh, you're gonna be canceled, you're gonna be fired, you're gonna," well, we got to look at what are the
noise.
Exactly. We said, well, what else do we have to lose but our chains?
Exactly.
Until everybody's free, until people in Gaza are free, until people in the west side of the Chicago, south side, until all of us are free, none of us
are free.
None of us are free. So that's the thing, our guiding principle. When we see a CEO that can make in an hour the salary of entire families, that make that for years.
Elon Musk be looking at you.
Exactly. Elon Musk, one of them, right?
Like, look.
And then you go in parades and then just talk about, why these policies are good for him, for his wallet. We got to look at holistically, what are the kind of investments, what are the things that are good for all of us, right?
Yes.
The collective. And we need every single one of us, right? The oppressor also needs to be healed, right? And we need to heal ourselves first. We need to heal our communities first. So when we talk about investing in mental health, investing in health for our communities are struggling. They can make barely ends meet. They're living, their life expectancy in Black and brown communities went down like 7-8 years. So people are struggling, right? So when we talk about investment, we got to talk about, I always think about the way that we treat our children and our seniors.
They need to be the same.
And says a lot about our society and where our priorities are. And look at the seniors in our communities. Look at the children, right?
Yeah.
So I think for us,
a lot of them are neglected and not supported. And it's like we have the power. But like, I guess going on that we have the power, how can we do it? Because you're in office, but for us that aren't in office, like how can we support you in making this change? In supporting all of our people.
Well, supporting all of us, I think like all of us have, a beautiful role in this universe, right? If you are a reporter, you are a public official, or if you are a teacher, you are a doctor, you are an actor, whatever, the actress, whatever that is. I do think that we all have something beautiful contributed to this universe. I think that what we don't ask ourselves too oftentimes is like, what is my purpose in life? What is our purpose in life? And I mean, if a billionaires respond, well, my purpose is like to take everybody else's wealth. I mean, maybe they should reconsider, and then they should reevaluate. Because at the end of the day, that's what I see. A lot of the greed, corporate greed, comes from insecurities and comes from their own traumas, and that generational trauma that gets transferred to generation. Yeah. We want our kids to break through that generational trauma, to be able to speak who they want to be, right? And that's not only what I would like to see for my children, but this is what I want for everybody's child. So that's what James Baldwin's, philosophy is so powerful. And James Baldwin, people, from Rosa Parks, these civil rights leaders, Fred Hampton was from Chicago. At 21 years old, he was a very, very wise young man, a black person in our city who gave us a treasure about revolutionary love. And he talked about international solidarity. So,
and I'm seeing parallels, just saying, you're listing all these greats, but I'm telling you, you are going down in history books as one of those greats as well.
I hope that with the collective, with us, we can do something to change a world that is so inhumane right now. But it has, look, we see the genocide right now, but we see how many indigenous people have been, victims of genocide. We see what happened to civil rights leaders, right? And now we see what's happening in Palestine. I do believe that, if Palestine dies, humanity dies. Yeah. But I think there's enough of us who believe in humanity. James Baldwin said something that always sticks with me. He said that the world is whole together, but very few people who really love deeply, right? And I do think that that's what has to transpire in everything you do. You love your show, you love because you want to transfer a message, and that love, right, is right? It transfers that energy of joy and a desire to live, right, for humanity. If we're a teacher, we are whatever we are, right, in whatever role is. I think that will and that desire to live has got to be what drives our decisions. And I think that in whatever position is, we cannot be afraid of being who we are.
We can't. So kind of leading on that, on how we need to really support our community, you're very passionate about affordable housing. Let me make sure I say this correct. Just cost eviction?
Yes.
Can you please tell us more about that, about how you're really helping pushing forward affordable housing for your community?
Yes, well, in the city of Chicago, if you look at it, I mean, this is a city that has welcomed so many people, right?
Yes.
Historically, right? We're home for a large Jewish community, Palestinian community, Ukrainian community, Black communities, Latinos.
Yes. It's the whole world.
We are a melting pot.
Yeah, we really are the melting pot.
And even though when we do the work for the federal government, oftentimes we get praise. I mean, we just got a DNC, and everybody says, "Oh, Chicago, we did great, the best DNC." But where's the love for Chicago? Exactly. Where's the help, right?
People came and then they left, and sometimes they kind of left it worse. So,
right. So we wanna make sure that there is reciprocity from the federal government and say, look, Chicago is doing the federal government's job, right? These policies that are creating migration of people from their own homes, right? 29,000 Ukrainians arrived to Chicago, right? And very few people even knew about it. But almost 30,000 Ukrainians came in fleeing war. Wow. Then we got 50,000 people who migrate from the global south, people from all over the place, mainly, of course, from Venezuela. But that is a country that has been victim of having the one thing that they have been one thing about Venezuela that has been their course is having oil. Right? And this is something that you can see across the world. Right?
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, that has created tremendous instability over disputes over oil. And unfortunately, a lot of people are leaving their homes. They're leaving because of war, because of instability, whatever that is.
It's like it's just not safe, so they need to come here.
And people are going through tremendous, people crossing the border, crossing the jungle, Darien jungle, that is one of the most dangerous places to cross. People are arriving. I mean, it is honestly a real, just the fact that many people have survived that journey is a miracle in itself. But we have now 50,000 more people, right? So 30,000 Ukrainians, now we have 50,000 people from the global south.
That's 80K.
That's 80,000 people.
In addition to everyone already in the city.
In addition to, we have about 70,000 people, 24,000 CPS children that are unhoused, right?
Wow.
So when you see, and you see it all over the city, right? When you see it's that much need, we believe housing is a human right. And I've seen veterans, people with disabilities, people like working people being evicted, by no cause, just by someone coming in. It's like, well, I bought your building, you need to get out. So what we're trying to do is, one, making sure that we understand that housing is a human right. And by the way, the more people that we have housed, the less violence that we have, the less issues that we see in ER rooms, people just coming because of extreme weather and many other things. So it is better for us to house people. If we house people, we will see a dividend. We'll see the benefits of that for all of us, right? Unfortunately, we have, again, corporate greed.
I was going to say, what is that battle? Because I'm like, to me, it's common sense. Like, house people. But it's like, you're in this room with all these other politicians. What does it feel like when you're having conversations and it's like folks aren't seeing it, or they're, for some reason, prioritizing corporate greed or some other things that have nothing to do with actually supporting humans?
Right, exactly. Well, someone else is paying them.
Yeah.
So
okay,
first
true,
of all,
true.
So but I think what I will challenge a lot of the people in city council and people in elected officials is that, who do we serve? Do we serve the people who elected us and trust us, or do we serve ourselves and those who have other agendas but not the agenda of the city of Chicago? So for us, it's like I came with a premise of helping my community keep their schools open, making sure that people have shelter, that they have the basic necessities. And also we want to make sure that other communities are taken care of. So when we talk about housing as a human right, we got to make sure that we stop, the inhumanity of having children, seniors, people die in the streets, and that is inhumane.
Yeah.
So when we talk
There's
about
no reason. We have a lot of room here.
we have the room, right? So if we have room, why? Why not? Right? And I think that we're showing people that it's possible, right? But making sure that we protect people from evictions. Evictions are violent processes, that we want to make sure that we got people housed, especially people who, like in Woodlawn, not too long ago, there was this veteran who's lived in Woodlawn their whole lives. An investor came in, bought the building, evicted her. 70 police officers showed up,
70?
70.
That's
For
crazy.
a senior veteran in Woodlawn. For what?
For what?
So it's like, is that how we use our resources to dehumanize and to evict?
Displace? Like, that's crazy.
And this is a Black veteran woman.
Wow.
So that will tell you.
And we should be thanking her for her service.
Right. When we talk
That's
about
crazy.
When we talk about many others who talk about, think of it. 30% of people in house are veterans.
Wow.
And
so they serve this country for most of their lives, and then they come back not housed, and we're not supporting them. That's a crime.
Think about that. And I think that the inhumanity to have them, having difficulties accessing to mental health, having difficulties accessing even educational grants, all these things, right? I do think it speaks volumes about where our priorities are. And first and foremost, I think like we have enough issues here at home that, I think always have said, I always want to start from within before we be lecturing someone else's about values.
Exactly.
So I think for us is treating our veterans or people with disabilities or seniors or children, 24,000 CPS children unhoused in unstable housing. How can you learn when you have that instability?
Exactly.
So that's what I was very passionate about both housing and education. When I came to the United States, I came at 17. I did not come with my family. I came as exchange student to Tennessee. And for the different things that life brings us, I ended up in a church because the host family that I was had had a family emergency, so I had to find another home.
Wow.
And it was a Black mother from Tennessee with 4 children who opened the door for me.
Wow.
So when we talk about, that right now you see them,
makes sense.
when you see the media taking out of control, I mean, just like I don't like to expose the media because it's so, sometimes when you really see how the media works, I think that you see the audacity of rich people to tell a story that is distorted from the truth.
They just want controversy and they want to tell their own story.
Right.
And I'm that's why I'm glad you're here, because I want people to really hear from you and get to actually know the true Byron.
Right. And that's the same when we talk about Black and Brown solidarity. I'm not talking because of a slogan. I'm talking because I lived it.
This is what you live.
I lived it. My family from Tennessee opened the door for me to finish high school, to go to college. I went to college on a soccer scholarship, but I lived with them not only when I was in high school, when I was my first year in college, until I was able to get a room and board. I'm always going to be grateful. So when I see our Black communities being disenfranchised, when you see the school closings,
it hits home.
It hits home.
That's your family too.
Because that was my family. That's my family too. And
this makes sense.
And that's what we got to treat each other as family, because we never know when we can be in that position,
exactly.
Right? And I do think that when we see others suffering, I think that compassion, right? We can always analyze problems with or reasons with logic. We gotta analyze them with heart. So, and it's both, right? And that's what I think. I have a good writer that outside of James Baldwin, and Eduardo Galeano is a writer who wrote this book, Open Veins of Latin America.
Open Veins of Latin America.
And he always says, "Don't call me an intellectual, because I want to make sure that people remember my heart." And I think that is very true. I think
I see parallels with you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those things. I think, how can we forget those who opened the door for us in Chicago? Chicago has been is a welcoming city. Has done so much for people like myself that don't have any other safe havens. Now how can we not see what's happening in the Black community when 50 schools get closed down, right? And that's the thing. Unfortunately, they use people to pitch us against each other, especially politicians, right? And then people start getting said, well, and that's where the unity start being, a little bit distorted and confused. But I tell you, Chicago has history of solidarity that goes back to when the Young Lords were talking with the Black Panthers. There's history here.
Yes.
Chairman Fred Hampton. Now we have Fred Hampton Jr.
Exactly.
A good friend of mine.
Yes.
Doing the same work, healing work in our communities, so that our kids hopefully don't have to deal with the things that we have to deal with right now.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because they have to know that there are people here who care. And again, our personal histories matter. I do think that there's so many wonderful people here in Chicago that are oftentimes not recognized, and oftentimes, because these are the people that are in our schools doing the work that they don't even get paid for, and they should get paid for.
Exactly.
And I think
they're on the ground really helping shape our next generation.
Absolutely. To me, it's like to blame the teachers for the issues that we had.
That's crazy.
In public schools,
That's
right?
Crazy.
The school closures that the teachers were fighting, because I was with them, to make sure that they don't close schools for, in the poorest areas of the city, the damage that created, right? With this called fiscal responsibility, right? How fiscally responsible they have been. I mentioned this, like when they take billions of dollars for luxury condos that they never built.
Exactly.
Right? But when you need housing, affordable housing, public housing, we don't have the money.
That's crazy.
So I think
that's
that
a crime.
That is a crime. And I think that when, and I would say, every allegation oftentimes is a confession from these individuals who run the city with an iron fist. And I think that for us, in our position, we cannot forget, one, for where we come from, two, like the people who trust us to do right by the position that they entrusted to us. Public service is an important job. And three, that we don't want the next generation to feel that we did not fight with everything we had.
Yeah.
I think those are the three guiding principles that I try to always have when I go to the council, knowing that the uphill battles when you are battling billionaires, corporations, people who sell out and look the other way.
Exactly.
But you also see those teachers who, at the end of the day, will call and say, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
We believe we got to continue to fight.
And I'll say, even going on the continue to fight, all of us as citizens, when we see you being able to say the things that need to be said, we appreciate you for really utilizing your platform to support us. So let's dive into you as a human, as Byron. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions about you? Like, what do people not really know about you, but they may assume because of the way media has tried to portray you?
Well, I think the media tries to portray this image of like someone who doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right? And politicians are usually because let's be honest, right? Majority just care about their career.
Exactly.
Right? I am not a careerist. I'm a former teacher. I left the classroom because I had to.
Yeah.
Right. Not because necessarily I couldn't even. I became a citizen. Right. I couldn't even vote up to 2013, I believe. And I realized that was a real a privilege to be able to vote.
Yeah.
Right. That little things that sometimes we don't take into account.
Like we take that for granted all the time.
We take it for granted.
But like, again, even remember people died for us to be able to vote. Vote.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. That's what I think. For me, I try not to take things for granted, right?
Yes.
Like the food that is on our table came from people who are farming in very harsh conditions,
Yes.
exploited. I don't take for granted the fact that I'm able to be a politician in Chicago because we have mayors like Mayor Washington, who was the first black mayor in the city of Chicago, who gave us a sanctuary city.
Yes.
I try not to take things for granted because I knew that, and I know that there are many people who paved the way. And I think that I try to always see what I can do on my end to just contribute to that collective effort. So that I think that sometimes it is easy to say, well, we care for certain things or certain people, but
you care about the human race. You care about all of us. And it seems like you're very centered in gratitude as well. And you have a beautiful family at home, triplets. Like,
Yes.
What is that like? You and your wife are busy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like you have a lot on your hands. Like, how's that like?
Yeah, it's a blessing. Every day I wake up, I wake up and I think that, it is a blessing to be alive in this world.
Amen. Yes.
And be able, to have three little souls that are curious to learn about the world.
Yeah.
And I want to tell them a better story,
Yeah.
With my wife, and like I said, both we're organizers.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah,
both are fighting the good fight.
Oh yeah, and I think I couldn't do it without it.
Yeah.
I'm not here without Lorene, who is not only is a fighter on her own right, she's a labor leader on her own right. She's also an organizer, and she's an organizer for tenant rights and many other things. But also she's a mother, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, for me, it put me into shame to say, well, if you are doing all of that, at least I can do
so who am I to complain?
I got to do my part.
Like,
so I think for, and every mother, I mentioned my mother, my second mother from Tennessee, who helped me. She was actually instrumental in terms of one of the first things that I learned was civil rights leaders when I was learning English. And that left, and I think the fact that she was an African American studies professor, things that you don't think about
exactly.
at the time.
Like already there was no such thing as stereotypes because literally you're living the definition of the opposite of a stereotype.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I am very grateful and say their gratitude for all the mothers that I've been able to, like I said, in a way, I got two mothers. I got my mother from Ecuador, then I have my second mother from Tennessee, and Lorene, who I see as a mother every day, seeing, trying to fight the good fight, So to me, it's just, I feel very grateful. I have twin girls and a little boy.
Yeah.
They are, I always thought, I work for 10 years in public schools, right? So I work with Head Start parents, parents who live below the poverty line.
Yeah.
And we help to get, we build community. I always felt there was a job that I enjoyed. I was an adult educator.
Yeah.
There's an adult educator from Brazil. His name is Paulo Freire.
Okay.
And he talks about reading the word and the world.
Okay. And tell us break it down for us.
And I think when I look at my kids and my family, I said, because I like to read them stories. The other day we were just reading a story about, and they're just a little bit of tears also. Now it's starting to.
Okay, so they're toddlers.
They're
toddlers.
My
goodness!
Yeah.
I love babies. Okay.
Yeah, and they're really, and who doesn't, right? And I think that's when you see the inhumanity going on. Is like we cannot allow that.
Yeah, you don't want your children to grow up in this crazy world, right? You need to change it so that once they really start seeing it, it's better for them.
Absolutely. And for every child, right?
Yes.
So I think the other day we just listened to a story, a Palestinian story, about how, families get displaced. And then at the end of the book talks about, olives, right? And then how they plant an olive, right? To hope one day they can come back to see the harvest, right?
Wow.
So, and I think like, with my little triplets, I think that we got an extra motivation. It's a blessing in their own right, but
every single day,
every day. But it's also a reminder, constant reminder, and motivation that we must fight for a better world, and that we need everybody in this fight.
Do you think that they know who you are yet, or no? Like, do they think that they know that their parents are literally at the forefront of political change? Like, I know they're toddlers, but do you think there's like any inkling? Like, do they understand? Do you think they see it yet, or you think they still need to get a little bit bigger?
I hope, we take them to a lot of the events, and talks and marches and protests.
Oh, I love that.
So I think that, one thing was they made me laugh one time because, we were in a presser, and then, we already had, we had 3 babies.
Yeah.
So my wife already had 2. So I had to, had to take one with me. So he came into the presser with me. And then he was imitating, later on, he will grab, and he will be grabbing, anything from and then I think it was bring a broom or something, and he'll be talking, and then he'll be clapping himself, so. I hope that they say that the kids absorb and they hear and
they do
and see anything. So if anything, I always hope they remember that we are fighting.
Yeah. My heart. All right. So let's get back into something a little sticky, right? So you're very much for immigrant rights. You're also like making sure, hey, we need to make sure everyone's good. Period. Even folks in Gaza. During the pro-Palestinian protests, you were put under fire because the flag was burned. And this actually happened way before you came there. Where do you think the misunderstanding was? Because you were there for good reasons. Like, why do you think people were coming at you so hard?
Well, it actually had to do with another decision that was being brewed about appointing me as chair of the zoning committee in the city of Chicago. So there was a lot of fear from the billionaires and corporations that there will be one person who actually cares about people in that position.
How dare someone actually care about people?
and that I don't take contributions from developers. Because when they talk about predictability, means that they want someone that they can know will follow their agenda.
Yeah, they want someone they can control. And that's not you.
And that's not. And I tell you, I think if the minute that I become like that, I'd rather be doing something else.
Yeah.
So I was uncompromised, and I said that I will continue doing the work of the people in whatever role. I'm at the chair of the housing committee, and I'm fighting. But in terms of development, we see what's going on across the city. I feel for, again, working class families that are being evicted, have been displaced, cost of living and everything going on. So that started being brewing the social media, especially these reactionary platforms like X.
Yeah.
Right? So
because the way they frame it was not like that. So I'm like, oh, so they're just scared of you actually caring for the city. That's crazy.
So that's how it started.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I have another colleague to start Xing me about this. And then other these hedge fund managers that start talking anything that they could, but they cannot find anything about it. Like I said, when you speak the truth,
they can't really come for you because you said the truth. At the end, they would have to be lying.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So they had to make up a story because there was nothing else, right? They cannot get me out of whatever else. And I think the politicians sometimes are afraid because they have their skeletons in their own closets.
Yes.
But I came here, as I said, to help my community because of schools, because of mental health, because of housing. I'm not here because someone put me here. I am here because my community needed help. And I think when that story was out there, they were trying to find something. And when I came out, and I'm still unapologetic, I'm not gonna, about standing up for a free Palestine. I know there's still, to this day, a lot of fear mongering and retaliation and all sorts of stuff, but I do not fall for that. And unfortunately, in this in this case, they made up a story. Now, the true story, so that people know, for those who don't know.
Please tell us, because
so
this is why we're here.
So you can know kind of what actually happened. So, and actually was other alderpersons there before even I got there.
Yeah.
So that probably had a better, in fact, one of my colleagues, mentioned that. It was like, well, I was there before he was there, and I couldn't see anything, neither I smell anything.
Yes.
Right? But that's what I mentioned. So it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the zoning position and developers trying to, doing business as usual. But anyway, when I came out, I spoke, against the genocide, and I spoke firm that, at the time, President Biden role in this, So I think a lot had to do with what I said, So, and then not even right away, but a few days later, someone came out in X with a photo that showed me supposedly with the flag, and that I burned the flag.
That's so crazy.
And at first they were calling me flag burner.
Yes.
And I was like, well, and I was
that made me want to dig. So I'm like, nah, y'all just threaten, because I know this ain't right.
Right. So, which I get that I'm always assume, responsibility for my own actions, right? I never, avoid responsibility or accountability. But this was a made-up story. It was actually a veteran who burned the flag. Is a constitutional right.
Yeah.
It's been for like 30 days.
Exactly.
30 years or so. And actually was elevating, the fact that there was another Marine, Aaron Bushnell, who had actually immolated himself in front of the White House. He burned himself on fire.
I actually remember that.
There was a veteran. And I talk about, and actually I do have a lot of good relations with my veterans because I help them with housing. We just passed legislation to help with that. Yes. And they came actually to support me the day that they tried to censor me. But what happened is that the veteran, rightly so, right, have just seen this happen to that media hasn't covered the way that they should have. This
they barely covered that.
They barely covered, and the message was very powerful. It was basically saying, and I repeat that message, basically, that this is what the oligarchs and the ruling class wants to normalize, genocide. And then he said, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. Those were more or less paraphrasing his words. So the veteran rightly so came in support and elevating that. An act, someone who has been in active duty. In fact, the flag that he burned was a flag that he has carried with him in Afghanistan when he was in mission. So it was a very symbolic.
There's a very symbolic.
It was heavy symbolic. They were trying to get me to censure this veteran, which, and to this day, and what I said is I have immense respect for someone who has that kind of.
If you're going to dedicate your life to fight for this country, that's more than a lot of people would be doing.
And the fact that he has the values and principles to say when something is wrong too.
Yeah.
This is just wrong. So when he went to and burned the flag, I haven't met him, right? So he actually, days later, he introduced himself, right, after the scandal was playing out, and say, with Zach, I have tremendous respect because, he reached out to me and said, look, I'm sorry that this is happening to you. That was not my intention, which he hasn't at all. That had nothing to do with it. And I actually said, well, I would like to meet you because we met after we successfully defeated the censure attempt, 29 to 16 votes by the same 16 reactionaries that, tried to make.
This is the kind of opposition you get is crazy.
Yeah. And that's okay, right? Because we know it's not true.
Exactly.
So, and I'm glad again that having a time to even explain what actually happened. And again, this is something that I'm not going to condemn a veteran for using his, constitutional right.
Yes.
And also at the same time, the fact that they tried to make up that story shows the weakness of the ruling class, that they have to resort to those kind of tactics, right? To make up a story, to try to, because the whole goal is to silence, right? To show what they have said on multiple these platforms to teach me a lesson, right? And I think that this everything is a learning lesson for everybody. But my hope is that if people learn anything, is that we still prevail. in the hardest thing when I was like, I remember people were texting me, it's like, oh, wow, you got a lot of people in the press conference trying to tell you to resign or to be censured.
It's like, I ain't going nowhere.
I was like, and I didn't even know what it was, so I said, well, let me find out what it is. So, and then when we did, again, even in I would say always like, even in the hardest moments that we have, it is our values and principles and respect for human dignity that must carry us forward.
Yes.
Even if it's to lose, but we're not going to lose compromising on principles.
And I think that's a great transition to just your leadership. What's one of the toughest decisions you've had to make as a leader?
Well, I think like as a leader, I think sometimes is, sometimes learning to hold your own friends accountable. That is a hard thing to do, I having in times where, because people are pushing me to take certain position and they think that I'm being difficult, right? So not being principled, right?
Yeah.
Or just having to tell friends, that that they're simply not right, that there are. And again, I'm always be the first one to admit when something, because we all make mistakes.
Exactly.
That's part of life. In fact, not being afraid of mistakes. I think some of us are, or some people are afraid of making mistakes because they think that because that's what the meritocracy, the society want to show you, right? That there's like a trajectory when everything goes well and everything's perfect. That doesn't. Life is not like that.
I feel like it's life is a series of failures.
Exactly, and we have, and especially have a hard time with people who haven't failed or perhaps lives have not showed them that coin yet, right? But we all have. In fact, I feel that failure is our best. Is our best teacher. Right?
It is. It 100% is.
Yeah, and I think that's what it sometimes. I think to go back to say, look, some things are friends. Sometimes are, and again, I understand trauma, right? I understand that we have to deal with that, and to move past that. I think that we cannot dehumanize each other, right? So I think that sometimes is like because the media portrays this way, and people are afraid of power, right?
Yes.
Because we believe in empowering, right, people, and the media is very good at, and that's Malcolm X says something very, very true, is that be careful when you follow the media because you could end up praising those who are trying to oppress you and hating those trying to help you. So I think that is something that is being very true that I hope that, and that's something that I deal with sometimes because the media puts certain thing out there. So by the time I try to talk to somebody, they already have a another notion of the facts. So I always appreciate talking with working people because I feel that my community, I think Chicago in general, I think every working person that I talk to, if it's like someone, from the schools or construction workers, you name it, right? In any source of life, I'm being always grateful for Chicago because I always, sometimes when I'm feeling doubt, there's been some working class person who came in and tell me, hey, you know what? I think that I think that this issue, this is Palestine, is an issue of humanity.
Yeah, it is.
And we cannot lose our humanity.
Exactly.
So I think the vast majority of people, 80% people believe that, right? So we cannot be afraid of a vocal minority.
Yeah.
We got to just bring more people on board with us.
Period. Give it up for Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez. Wow. So what would you tell like younger you, so let's say like 15-year-old, 13-year-old you about like where they are in their journey? Like what would you say to your younger self?
To forgive himself for the things that perhaps didn't go as expected. And I think we all should, right? To forgive ourselves. Life is not a linear trajectory. It goes in circles, it goes down, it goes in many directions. And I think that I will tell, that is okay. And I think validate emotions, right? I think that's the thing as a father, I'm learning more of that, validating our emotions. Emotions are okay, but what we cannot let is our emotions consume us, right? Yes. Anger us to the point of harming ourselves or harming others, So I think that I to be more compassionate first with ourselves and then with myself and then be compassionate with others,
Wow. What advice do you have to our viewers that do want to get involved? Because again, we see you and we're like, okay, we want to be vocal, but like, how do we do that? Like, how can we get involved and really make sure the money is going to the right place in the city?
I would say to every young person, everybody out there, be involved and I think not so much to worry about in what am I going to be involved, but it's like, again, that question is like, what is my purpose in life? What I like to do, what drives me, what do I love to do? And again, if I was meeting the other day a person in a small business event.
Yeah.
And he was a comedian. And he is doing like a lot of empowerment with entrepreneurship, for people to discover their own character.
Yes.
And he made such an impression with me, and he, and I told him, look, I think that I really love not only the passion that you have, but I hear you empowering others, and you can see that people were really. So I think that for everybody, we all have again a role in this universe, all of us. If it's like I said, you do a great job in motivating people, young people, right, in your show. If you're a teacher or you are a construction worker, whatever we are, but when we do things with love and we do things with compassion.
What's next for you?
Next for me, well, I've been fighting for housing. Housing is going to be federal government, state government, county government. They're going to hear a lot from us. We're going to keep organizing.
Okay, period. Okay, well, we're here to support you. And you're on Every Day is a Yay. How do you find the yay in every day?
I think with my neighbors and my family and my neighbors, my community, I am always grateful, and I find a lot of joy and a lot of lessons, from ordinary people. I think Rudy Lozano was a leader for, was assassinated days after Mayor Washington got elected. And he said that it's not like people the people in high places, but there's ordinary people doing extraordinary things every day. And I, hope that I never miss that that I always grateful. I always see that the beauty of having people like Chicagoans are, the mayor says it's the best freaking city in the world.
It is the best city in the world. Give it up! All right, how can we support you?
Just get involved. Continue doing what you do. Speak truth to power, and I think that people will come.
Yes. Yay! Well, thank you so much, Yay Nation, for tuning into a very powerful episode. Y'all, let's get active, let's support, and really continue to support and love each other. All right? So, anyways, thank you for tuning in. And remember, you have the power to make every day a yay!